Hi, what's up, everyone? We are back for episode 2, and we're excited. We ended our last video talking about a couple of tragedies that happened as we were preparing to move to Texas. And the first one was with our marriage. We were, at a place where we were a little bit at odds and we were not on the same page. And if you want to know more about what happened at that point, you have to go back and watch our video. So go back and watch the first one. And we started talking about the second tragedy. And Raequane's going to go into detail about that on this episode.
All right. Um, I guess a caution before we get started is I really don't know how I'm going to respond to telling this part of the story with my dad passing and ultimately processing that in a couple of different states of mind. And so we're going to be talking about that, a little bit of backstory, and then we'll get into the story of what actually happened, and we'll get into how I processed everything and kind of where I guess an up to date on where I am with that, sprinkling in the principles that we live by that ultimately help us make the decisions that we make and live the way that we do. And so throughout this episode, I'm going to probably be doing most of the talking. It'll be more kind of going through the story. And as you feel, I want you to jump in, especially if I'm missing something or if you feel like you can pull something out of something that I'm saying, or you can add value
Yeah.
to kind of whatever
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so really quick, this is not going to do it, my dad justice as far as knowing him fully, but I want to give a little bit of background on who he is, just so some of it is more relevant, and you get to know kind of who I'm talking about when I talk about this story. And so my mom and dad had me. She was 15, he was 17, and so um, that they were young when they had me. That's a whole another story. And so by the age of 6, my dad had actually been in an accident. He was diving into this park in Alabama called Oak Mountain. It's basically almost like a beach, a man-made beach. And so he was diving in and he hit his head, and this paralyzed him from the chest down. So since the age of 6, my dad has been paralyzed from the chest down. He's made some improvements, been able to feel and do different things over the years. And so when he passed, I'm 27. So this is 21 years of my dad being in the wheelchair. And my parents ended up divorcing that same year, not because of his accident, but because of other things that happened. Um, and so I end up living with my dad when I go to the 10th grade. So I moved to Jemison, Alabama from Birmingham, Alabama. And at this time, this is when I really get to know my dad. Over the years, we see him, whenever he comes and pick us up, we spend the night over his house. But in the 10th grade, I'm 15 years old. And this is when I actually get to know my dad for all that he is and and who he is. He's always been my dad, and nobody can replace him. But this is when I really got a chance to know him, outside of going to the movies, outside of, hey, dad, we need some school shoes, or going to the park and hanging out, and him teaching us how to backflip and all these different things. And so from that point, I graduate from high school from with living with him, and I end up going to college. So for those 3 years, 15, 16, 17, is really when that kind of rooted our relationship in a lot of ways. And so he's paralyzed, and he's after I graduated, really it seemed like he started going through a lot of life stuff. He My dad had been remarried, so when I moved with him when I was 15, he had already remarried, and um, that's their, they had a relationship, a good relationship. They were together for the entire time that I was there. Once I graduated, it seemed like I don't know what happened to the relationship, but it, that's another. I guess that's not my story. Um, my dad ended up moving out, and since then, I would say it's really been. Uh, I don't know the last time I really seen my dad happy, enjoying life. All right. So we look at that, all of that, and move to kind of where he is. So where he is, he had been living with my brother for a little while. This is we're a couple of years now. I'm 27. My brother's 26. I think he had been living with my brother a couple of years at that point, maybe 2 years, and now he's staying with my grandmother. And so that whole thing happened on December 27th. There, I get a call on the way to work, and the call is that my dad is in the hospital. They saw stuff like something on the news or whatnot. It was my grandmother's house. She wasn't home. She was at work. This is in the middle of the night, maybe 5 a.m. or something like that, where the fire was actually happening. And so on the way to work, I get this call, and it's that my dad is at the hospital. And so I'm getting this, and I'm pulling into the parking lot at work, and I'm not necessarily sure what to do, other than just tell my job, like, hey, I need to go and just check on him. At this point, I'm not sure what's happened. I'm not sure how bad he's burned or anything like that. But I know that he's at the hospital. And so really we had I mean, I work for an amazing ministry that was really supportive. And so they let me go, and I go to I guess the emergency room, and I go to check in, all that stuff. I tell them, hey, I'm Raequane, Otis Jones' son. My dad, it was in a house fire, and I was told that he was here. So I'm waiting in the waiting room, and then they take me back. And when I go back, I see him on a hospital bed. He's not necessarily in a room. He's just kind of under like a almost like a operation table where they got the lights and stuff like that. But he's just there. There is no nurses or anyone with him. And when I see him, I'm I'm shocked. I guess I'm in shock because I don't know necessarily know what's going on. I don't know the background at this point. I'm there, and the nurse, they asked me, is this your dad? At this point, he had not even been. They didn't know who he was. He didn't have any ID on him. He didn't have anything. I would assume it was all burned in the fire. Okay, so um, so as I'm looking at him, just so you can see what I'm saying, he's on this bed, and everything looks normal. Like he was not burned at all. I didn't see any burns on his body. Only thing that I saw was that there's a lot of like smut up under his nose, and that was from the smoke. So there's just a lot of black, like smudged, just right there under the nose. Again, I think that's from inhaling the smoke. So let's fast forward to um, finding out the details of the actual fire. So I found out that it was actually someone in my family that was upset with him and set the fire, and not just set the fire, but they blocked the door so that he wouldn't be able to get out, and moved his wheelchair. And the reason that I get so, this is like one of the parts of the story that hurts me so much, is because knowing my dad, he worked out all the time, and I would say he was a fighter, especially when it came to physical stuff. He wanted to walk again, and he would. That was like his whole life. At the end of his life, the only thing that he was pursuing was being able to walk again. And so, in my mind, I can see him fighting to get out of the house. So, um, the fire happened. The paramedics and the firemen, they find him, and he had already been dead. They don't know how long he had, no heartbeat or anything like that, but they was able to resuscitate him, and They got him back breathing and things like that. Got him to the hospital. So I'm hopeful. I'm there. I'm hopeful, and they start their process. They got this. They have to stick this tube down his throat to kind of get all of that poison out of his lungs from the smoke and things like that. All right. So he gets up to a normal room eventually, and we have more visitors and things like that. And right here is where I want to share it. It almost felt like a movie where you see something happens to someone and their family member comes in and they're sitting with them. And I know this to be true for me, but I would bet that everyone that visited him felt the same way. And I could tell by how everyone was talking to him. So just like in the movies, you feel like, I'll just say it from my perspective, just like in the movies, I felt like day two, like day three, when he hear my voice, he gonna wake up. I'm his oldest son, and I know he loved me. And so I just think to myself, I'm my the ministry that I work for. They allowed me to go and visit him, and I was able to stay with him for a couple of days. Instead of going into work, I would go up there, spend a couple of hours with him, and kind of see people as they visit and stuff like that. But I thought that being there and talking to him, that when he hear my voice, that he would wake up, and that never happened. Like I said, I feel like it's the same people. And other people in my family probably felt the same way. When I come, he'll wake up because he hear me, like, and I feel like we're yes, we are all special. Yes, I believe that he loved all of us, and it's just weird. It's that hope that something will change. All right, so we'll move forward a couple more days. So day three, day four, day five, and I'm there with him. And so with me being there, a lot of times I'm there by myself because I'm able to be off work. So I'm there, basically the hours that everyone else is kind of working. They're trying to, I guess, stay busy or come whenever they can. And nurses are coming in and going out. They're doing their normal routine. But I know this days before they actually say something. I'm watching them and how they're interacting with my dad. And I know that it's probably protocol, but they're talking to him, and then one of the doctors will come in, and they're talking to him, but they're touching him, and it's almost like they're looking for a sign of something to change. And so, with smoke inhalation, it damages your lungs, but without actually breathing, and I'm no doctor or anything like that. Without breathing, it affects your brain. And so they were looking for signs of his brain, and so like of things activating and him actually responding. And so they tell us after a couple of days they want to do brain scans just to see how everything is looking. So before they do the brain scans, or while they're in between them saying that and actually doing the brain scans and getting the results, I'm seeing how they're interacting with my dad. It's almost as if he should have woken up by now. And so this is a couple of days before they actually tell us that my dad is actually, he's brain dead, and we should start preparing to make decisions on what to do next, either to leave him on the machines that's helping him breathe and keeping him alive, or take him off the machines and allow him to pass as his body kind of does that, go through that process. And so seeing this by myself, and then seeing my family come and visit him and talk to him and hug on him and hold his hand. It's not that I didn't have faith or didn't believe that God could perform a miracle. That's not it at all, because I'm there and I'm praying for him, and I believe that God can. But it's something to know that it's like it's time to move on. And so before we go to the next part, I want to take one step back. So me and my dad, the last year of his life, we actually had a roller coaster of a relationship where we weren't talking as much, but toward the end of his life, we were talking way more. We were in a better place, and that is such a blessing. But seeing my dad, and not only his seeing my dad and knowing what he had been through, I knew that he had already dealt with a lot of depression. I knew that the place that he was not the place that he wanted to be. I also knew that he wasn't necessarily taking care of himself when it came to eating vegetables and eating fruit and eating, the just all the nutritious things that he needs in order to for his body to continue to work. And I'm sharing that because I'm sure I'm not the only one that has ever had the thought, but that I knew, obviously we all pass at some point, but I I didn't know how soon it would be he would pass because his body just wouldn't function the way that it needs to. And so, my dad, he smoked, he drank, he drunk monsters all the time, basically ate a lot of snack foods and things like that, just to kind of give him enough energy so that he can get his next workout in. And so that's that. It's just in my mind. I had already. This is months before. I had already prepared myself of what would life look like if my dad wasn't here, and that is crazy because I did not expect him to go so soon. I didn't expect him to go in the way that he did, but that was the reality that I was living in. And the thing that was kind of crazy is that I'm going through this, and you really would not be able to tell that I was going through it with my parent, like with someone that is so close and dear to me, because as I'm going through this, I'm not boohooing, I'm not brokenhearted, i'm not I'm not angry and frustrated. I'm not I'm not overwhelmed even in the moment that I'm looking at my dad and I'm seeing, everything that I'm seeing, and I'm starting to understand everything that I understand. I'm not getting overwhelmed to the point where I can't think straight. I believe that God gave me such a sound mind in this moment, not just for me, but for my entire family. And I say that because even my aunt, she said that she said that if it wasn't for you handling this the way that you did, I think I would have went crazy. Because my aunt, for like she raised my dad almost like he was her own son, and so she had that kind of love for him. And to see to see me stand strong, to see me very sound mind, very focused, being able to communicate with the family, kind of the updates from the nurses, the updates from the doctors, and what's going on. It gave her a sense of peace that everything, even though this is tragedy, even though this is crazy, even though this should not happen, that everything is going to be okay. And so we're going through this, and the doctors, they ask us basically they tell us that it's between me and my siblings. Like, we have to make the decision on whether to leave him on life support or to take him off life support. And I think that three of us had already, and I think all of us knew But three out of the four of us was like, this is not how our dad would want to live life. Even he was, if he woke up and this was his reality, and he would just be bedridden for the rest of his life. That's not the kind of life that he would want to live, knowing his personality, knowing what he wanted to do and things like that. And believing that, if God was going to heal him, it wasn't going to be four kids inside of a doctor's room making a decision that was going to stop him from healing him. And so we waited another day, I believe, before we actually made a decision. But eventually, we did make the decision to allow his body to do what it's going to do and go through that process. Um, and I can't even imagine uh, the pain for my grandmother, which is a whole nother, that's just part of the story that it's not my part of the story. Uh, but I know that it was difficult for her, and I'm thankful that she did allow us to make the decision that we felt was best for him. Um, Dealing with tragedy is never easy. Um, I really thought that I was going to have my dad for a long time because he had us so early. I thought that while while maybe I was unplanned, while I was for sure unplanned, um, it was still a blessing because they had me young, so they get to experience me while they're young. They get to experience grandkids while they're young, and we get to grow old together. So that was just another part of what made it hard to think about, a reality without him.
Yeah, I think dealing with tragedy is hard, and it's also hard to watch someone, especially your husband, your significant other, go through it and not be able to do anything to make it better. Um, Watching my husband was concerning and confusing at the same time, because, like he said, he wasn't boohooing, he wasn't angry. He was very much level headed to the point where, like I said, I was concerned because knowing what I know about grief and like having to process like moments like that, I figured there would be a point where he would break down. And I was just on guard. I was just watching the entire time. When we're in the car, once we get to the hospital, as we're like going about our regular day, because again, our lives were still going, even though this was happening. But in every moment, I found myself just like being very watchful because I didn't know when that moment would happen. And really, it didn't, that moment never really came. There were moments where he was emotional and he had moments where he cried, but um, throughout this entire process, he was resilient. He was the level-headed person that was thinking straight the entire time. He was calm. He was composed. He saw, even in those moments, he saw something that we didn't, and he was able to function normally. Um, and again, like if you think about that, it sounds crazy because your father was just in this crazy accident, but you're able to sit, you're still able to joke around with your family while y'all are in the waiting area waiting to see him, and you're able to reminisce and talk about, the past and things like that without breaking down. And I was just on guard, just not sure what to do in those moments. But I am so proud of the way that you handled everything. I could not imagine being in your shoes and being able to compose myself in that way. And the only thing that comes to mind in thinking about the state that you were in it was the true definition of a peace that surpasses your understanding. And that tells me, like, even in the midst of crazy turmoil and craziness, the Holy Spirit is a comforter and he is able to guide you in those moments. And you are allowing him to do that. And it takes courage. It takes so much to be able to just rest in that, because at any point in any moment you could have given into to anything. And even being around others who were in those states where they were, in their own way processing the grief differently, you could have at any point broken down, but you still remained steadfast. You remained the rock of the family. And it was not something that I wish I could have seen for you, because we didn't want that to happen. But I'm so glad that I was able to witness that from you, because at some point, we're all going to go through that grief. And I pray that I'm able to handle it the way that you did.
So obviously, we didn't have any more arguments about moving to Texas.
Right.
We had moved past that. I mean, yeah, I had the high ground on that. She couldn't bring that up anymore.
Not that I would have.
Not exactly. Couldn't have. She could not.
I couldn't have.
Because of what was going on. But I want to I guess speak to my siblings, or really anybody that uh, may be going through something like this, anybody that has been through something like this, anybody that's still processing, this. Life is unpredictable. And if you don't have a relationship with God, if you don't have a relationship with him outside of all of this material, temporary stuff, life can destroy you. It can destroy the person that you had been building up, that you had been keeping, that you had been trying to live out. Without him, there is no hope. Like, there is no hope. The person that did this to my dad, the wildest thing I'm talking about. Not, it didn't take weeks, it didn't take months. Like, this happened, I had already forgiven her. It wasn't it I cannot imagine where she was mentally. I can't imagine what she has felt since, and I've even felt like I guess a conviction to write her. She did, um, she is in jail. She did get arrested and all of that. And that's the way that it is. But I have no there is no resentment, there is no anger, there's no frustration with her. And it's crazy. It doesn't even make sense to me why I don't have those feelings toward her, other than, like, the Holy Spirit, it is not even a part of me. It's not even a part of me. I love my dad so much. For the longest, he was like my superhero. I saw him in the wheelchair. I saw him not give up on life. I saw him still try to 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 make to get meaning out of life, even in his situation. And we all have our circumstances. We all have our thing that we eventually go through, whether it's our personal life and things that we personally go through, or someone that's close to us going through something health, going through something with mental, going through something with whatever it is. And if you want to be someone that can be relied on, you have to be someone that is reliable. And I think that you have to be able to show up when things are going crazy. It's not when everything is good and then you're there, but when things are crazy and you have that peace, you have that sound mind, and you're able to walk through that. That's just impactful, and I think that that carries so much weight. And it's not necessarily about just being strong for everyone else. I think that's a part of it. That's a good inspiration, but that's not the whole thing. It's about being whole. It's
Mhm.
about being healed. Like, um, we have so much that we have been through. I have so much that I've been through that, like, holding resentment is just gone. It's just gone. I forgive, and we move forward and we move on. We have the hard conversations and we figure it out. We get understanding, we get wisdom, and we move on. Life is short, and it's not easy. It's difficult. It comes with challenges, and I think that, but life is beautiful. Life, like, there's just so much meaning, there's so much purpose, there's so much more to life than holding on to these things that bring you down, or hold you back, or make you discouraged. Because the truth is that, like, someone had to be that person, somebody had to step up, or we would have all been scattered. We would have all not, no one would have known, like, well, what should we do? um Maybe we should keep him on the life support, maybe we should. And everyone would kind of throw in different ideas, because everyone is not, no one is thinking clearly. And I'm not saying that I was the only one thinking clearly, but being able to be there and see him and talk to the nurses and talk to the doctors and do all these things, it added another level of, I guess, trust and respect that my family had for me when it came to making the different decisions. Are of age, and really, of age can be, however old, it really doesn't matter. But if you have been here long enough to experience tragedy, then you know that life doesn't stop. Um, Getting back to our story about transitioning to Texas, um, we still moved. The Like, one of the crazy thing is that I didn't get to tell my dad that I was moving to Texas. So that was something else that I felt like I didn't get a chance to do, even though I had talked to him, a couple of days before. You kind of plan to, you prepare to share those kind of things, and so yeah, we are here, and we're we're still, we're moving forward. And we're recording this on February 16th, and his birthday is the 22nd. And it's really interesting that last year, my siblings got together back in Alabama, and I wasn't able to be there. But it kind of just, it went by. His birthday came, and it went, and I thought about him. But as his birthday approaches this year, it's been a little bit harder. um, I think about him a lot. And even went right after, all of it happened. The thing that got me the most is, it's awesome, and it is what it is. um the thing that would always get me was not any decisions that he makes. The thing that would always make me tear up and get me emotional was his smile and his laugh. I thank God for all of the memories that we have made. And I know that I'm a lot like him when it comes to, playing with the kids and all of that. And I plan on keeping that. Um, but life goes on, and you can either carry that weight, or you can remember, and you can, move forward, and you can live a life of purpose. You can live a life of impact. Just allow it. If it's nothing else, it can be a reason why you do pursue. It's a reason why you do continue to go, and you do continue to grow, and you do everything that you can to create or to make a difference. So I think it's so interesting that people that go into these different areas of really what I would call their ministry, whether it's safe houses, whether it's being a policeman, whether it's being a teacher, being an astronaut, being a doctor. A lot of times when someone is doing that and they're doing it to the next level, it's because they have a meaning, they have a why behind the reason that they're doing it, and that thing kind of gives that occupation, that thing's gives that mission, it gives it legs to go through the ups and downs of whatever it's going to go through. And I think that sometimes we go through things, we literally go through things to become a conduit for other people to be saved, so for other people to be impacted, for other people to be uplifted, to see that, hey, you can make it through this stuff, you can make it through this stuff. It doesn't have to end here. It doesn't have to stop here. And so life is unpredictable. I'm not the first person to lose a parent. I'm not I'm not the youngest person to lose a parent and actually remember it and have a relationship with them. And so the truth is that this is a part of life, and I'm okay with that. Not because it's just a jolly good thing, but because God is good. Period. The end. There are things that I don't understand, and there are things that I may never understand. But I know that God is good, and I know that He understands and He knows everything. And maybe even for this purpose alone, this video alone, one person is impacted, and um, hopefully no one ever has to go through something like this. I know that people will go through different things, their own tragedies, um, but to know that life, that you can grow, you can still go, you can still move forward, you can still have a productive life, and um, happy, be joyful, be not resentful, be not hateful. You don't have to carry that weight, but really to have the peace and the joy of the Lord. I know that this episode is long, but I do hope that it's been impactful for you. I do hope that in whatever thing that you're going through, it doesn't even have to be a tragedy. Sometimes we go through our daily stuff that can just be annoying, that can just be mundane, whether it's kids, whether it's the spouse, whether it's your job, whether it's family or parents or children, that it's okay, that it's okay. It's okay to forgive. You can remember, but forgive. Life is so good. There is so much more to life. There is so much joy to life. There is just so much more than being depressed by what has happened, when you have this opportunity every single day to make a difference. And something that happened through this tragedy is this right here. I mean, for my wife to experience me in that situation, it probably secured something in her that, like, I don't have to worry about anything. If anything happens in our life that is absolutely crazy, that I can't maintain myself, I know that I have a rock in my life that I can lean on, aside from God, of course.
Yeah.
Take him out the picture. But I have somebody in my life that I can lean on, that I know will be there to hold me down and to really care for me. And on the flip side, I have somebody that will support me and be there and listen and be on guard, if anything does happen, because I am still human. If anything does happen, I have somebody there to catch me and to pray for me and to hold me, and to truly be there and be everything that I need in the moment. Um, and so from here, the next episode, we'll talk a little bit more about our transition, um, from my dad actually, maybe taking his last breath, and then we actually went on a trip that was already pre-planned. We went to Cancun, and I needed that getaway. It was phenomenal timing. I needed that getaway, and then went basically straight into work. Then my dad's funeral, and then we're kind of off to Texas for sure.
Yeah.
That's actually when the whole family came, and that's dealing with tragedy, and that's me processing and dealing in how I made decisions in that process of my dad passing. And so hopefully this has been impactful for you. Hopefully that the story made sense and everything does connect. Um, but ultimately, I hope that you're encouraged that even if you haven't experienced anything like that, knowing that life could be worse. Um, Life could be worse. I know that this is not the worst that it could be. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that that we have the things that we have mentally, physically, spiritually. I'm grateful for all of that, and I won't go into too. I can talk forever, um, but I know that life could be worse, and I thank God that we are here now, peace of mind, with joy, with family. We're connected. We're happy, and that's all I have.
Yeah. I second everything that you said, but I also want to say not only could it be worse, there is so much better
Mm,
afterwards. And like you said, like even after this great tragedy, it has created another layer like in our marriage. I completely second the fact that I now see, I already knew before the rock that he is, but it that much more like amplified exactly what it looks like. And it takes that to be able to see. It takes something happening a lot of times for us to really see the depth of something. So I'm appreciative that we were able to gain even in our loss. So yeah, there's also great things ahead after tragedy. So
mm.
don't always dwell on the fact that yeah, it could be bad, it could be worse, but there's so much better afterwards. As long as you're living, like there's another opportunity for greater.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say to close out, I mean, this whole thing, it sometimes it reveals to yourself, what you're capable of, and it did that for me, even though it did take me back a little bit, because I haven't recorded any content like I wanted to,
But
and
it's okay.
it's okay.
You're recording now.
I'm recording now. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button and you subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you see all of whenever we post a new video. We'll see about doing some shorts on here, but we're definitely going to be doing some vlogs. And just continue to stay tuned for the story as it unfolds even more.
Yeah. We'll see y'all next time.